I can go to Claudia and I want to pin her video so that we see her as the main screen. And
that's just for you, but I don't know.
Oh,
sure.
Everyone would need to pin her.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to Claudia's picture and see the little dots or see more, then you can say pin video, and then she's the main screen. And we'll unmute Claudia. Let's see, did I do it? Okay. Oh, it's still muted. Unmute. You might have to unmute yourself. For some reason,
Okay.
it's not. There you go.
All
All
right.
right.
Here now?
Yeah. All right. Take it away, and I'll mute myself.
Okay. It's always hard to mute oneself. Well, I'm so glad we were able to work this out. Are you all hearing me all right? Okay. I'm a real novice at this stuff, so I'll just hope nothing gets too crazy. I wanted to explore change and transformation today because we're getting it in spades. We're getting it right up close and personal right now with what's going on. It's a moment. It's such an incredible moment in time to have had the pandemic and then this. I think somebody referred to it as a syndemic, when there's more than one thing going on at the same time, kind of things within things. So I'm going to start out actually with a beautiful William Stafford poem to get us off and running. This is called You Reading This, Be Ready. Starting here, what do you want to remember? How sunlight creeps along a shining floor? What scent of old wood hovers? What softened sound from outside fills the air? Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than the breathing respect that you carry wherever you go right now? Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? When you turn around, starting here, lift this new glimpse that you found. Carry into evening all that you want from this day. This interval you spent reading or hearing this, keep it for life. What can anyone give you greater than now? Starting here, right in this room, when you turn around. All right, I'm gonna sing the song and I want you to sing with me. I'm gonna watch for your lips moving. Queen's lace and chicory brighten up the roadside. Swallows on the power line counting the cars. She's in the northward flow from the city. In a few more hours she'll be sleeping beneath the stars. She's at a bend in the river, that's your line. Carry her out of sight. Bend in the river, surprise her in the night. Bend in the river, there's always one more turn, and there's always one more lesson you got to learn. It was a hot early evening in late July. Scorpio aimed at the moon. He was singing Motown to the washing machine when he heard the song of a loon. He shut his mouth to hear. It came from deep within. He knew that something was peculiar indeed. And when a voice from the dryer said, "You better move, boy," was the voice he thought he ought to heed. Yes, it was a voice that he chose to heed. It brought him to a bend in the river. Well, it carried him out of sight. Bend in the river, surprised him in the night. Bend in the river, there's always one more turn, and there's always one more lesson you got to learn. Now you can run, standing still, talk loud, saying nothing for the better part of a lifetime. And then one righteous day, it's your heart starts talking, says, "I'm here to claim what's mine. Yes, I'm here to recover what's mine. Looks like I got here in the nick of time." thunder rolling in from the western sky tickles your belly and your brain. Crimson sky looks likely to burn, and everybody's praying for rain. But you can't pray for light and curse the dark, 'cause they've been lovers for a long, long time. And if you find yourself a little too dry inside, look for water in a new state of mind. There may be water in a new state of mind. You bring us all to a bend in the river and carry us out of sight. Bend in the river, surprise us in the night. Bend in the river, there's always one more turn, and there's always one more lesson we got to learn. I'm gonna sing it once more now. Bend in the river, well, it carries us out of sight. Bend in the river, surprise us in the night. Bend in the river, there's always one more turn, and there's always one more lesson. Yeah, there's always one more lesson. There's always one more lesson we got to learn. Bend in the river. Well, there's a great quote from the guy who's considered the father of modern physics, Max Planck. And he, of course, is relating this to physics, but it fits every aspect of being alive. And that is, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And what we're looking at now, I mean, there are the specifics of confronting racism, but racism is part of a much greater system, which is the system of patriarchy and oppression and of a top down, and that there has to be a winner and a loser, and that we are incapable of working together. And I wanted to, even though it's a week early, I'm thinking about Father's Day next week. And I'm thinking about my father, who's 96 now, and how I have gotten to know him really in the 7 years since my mother died. It was like she was the alpha mate. And when she died, he kind of came out of the shadows, and he's been kind of blossoming in his 90s. And I was thinking about our fathers, and how they, just like the women in the culture, are trapped in expectations and roles. I mean, growing up with our dads, my dad, it might have been the same for some of you. I mean, it was the models, were Donna Reed and my three sons, and Dad was supposed to go off to work in the morning and then come home at the end of a hard day's work and be wise and witty and attentive and present. And I mean, who could live up to that? I mean, it was just a huge setup for disappointment all the way around. So I'm going to do a song that the jazz composer Horace Silver wrote the lyrics and the music to, as a kind of tribute to the spirit side of our dads that we often didn't get to see. I'm enjoying seeing my young friends and how they're dealing with parenting in a different way. And a couple I know out in Eugene, they adopted a girl, and my friend ran the public market in Eugene, and the guy and Pearl did work with domestic violence victims, and is a hardcore feminist, and somebody walked up to Pearl one day and said, "Oh, it's so nice to see Bill babysitting." And Pearl's very fierce. She said, "He's the father." He's not the babysitter. So I'm happy to see those. Again, its patterns are changing, and it's a long, slow, and very deliberate process. It doesn't happen by itself. It happens with a lot of care and mindfulness and commitment. This little song for my father does things that no other can do. As I sing it for you, it has a rhythm and rhyme that will fasten his memory in time. As his beauty shines through, for through my soul and mind, my heart will always find a special place for him. It's true. So I took the poem, the prayer, the Our Father prayer, which is relevant in certain situations, but not for this situation. And I took it and rewrote it on behalf of all of our fathers. A little play on words from the childhood mishearing of Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, that we hear about. So that makes its way into this poem, which I call Our Fathers. Our fathers who art in our hearts, Harold, Gus, Bob, Art be your names. You go to work and come home late, and sometimes show up for our games. Our fathers who art in some part of our disparate lives and hardly known, seldom out from under mother's shadow and strangely left alone. Our fathers who art in the cellular starts of our human undertaking, so often lingering in the wings, yet lonely, puzzled, sad heads shaking. Our fathers who art in our art, hearts, parts. Let's start to learn who you really are, beyond the mask of patriarch and back to the blood where we share the dust of stars. We bow our heads and we pray every day, Father's Day, let's review all that He brings to you. Our mother's love is real nice, but old Dad sacrificed for us too. Let us give Him His due. We're very proud to be His biography. We sing this song for Him and you. And you. This is a song for my father, a song for my dad, our dad. That 12-string ring out. Is the 12-string okay? Are things okay? Are sounding okay? Yeah. So hard to know.
Yeah, it doesn't quite sound perfectly natural, but it's good.
Fine. Good. Well, the thing that's up for discussion right now, and that brings us, that keeps us in this realm of change and transformation, are the conversations that white people are trying to have about taking responsibility for their own part in this broken system, and that's not even coming from the place of being overtly racist, but being a nice white person who doesn't even think of themselves as a racist, and yet there's no way we cannot be part of that system, because it's just structured that way. So there's a lot of humility involved in this process, of putting aside your ego, your expectations, and your thoughts about who you are, including about how liberal and non-racist you are, and just try to get back to some core understanding of what we have to do. There's a I think about ego death. You know, people talk about ego death, and it sounds like such a scary thing because it's got the word death in it. But it's like, I think the only thing that's got more lives than a cat is the ego, because I've been through so many ego deaths, and guess what? It just comes right back again, you know? it's very resilient. But there's a wonderful Sufi expression I just heard recently that goes, when the ego weeps for what it has lost, the spirit rejoices for what it has found. I just think that's so important right now to keep in mind. I wanted to do one of my favorite ballads about change. The thing is, change is very exciting or very terrifying, depending on how you happen to feel about it on any given day. It can be one thing or the other. It's never all the same. So this song kind of pulls it together for me in a beautiful way. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. No one stays the same. The young become the old, and mysteries do unfold. That's the way of time. No one remains unchanged. The winter turns to spring, and wounded hearts must heal. Never much too soon. Nothing and no one remains unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rainfall from the clouds. Yes, it does. Sunlight fills the sky. Yes, it does. And hummingbirds, sweet little hummingbirds, do fly. Everything must change. Sam Cooke said it this way. I was born by the river in a little tent, and just like river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I believe a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Well, it's been too hard living, ooh, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long coming. Oh, I believe a change is gonna come. Yes, yes. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brothers and my sisters and I say, my brothers, my sisters, won't you help me please? Don't you know that every time, well, they keep knocking me right back on my knees. Well, there were times I thought I was almost home, but now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I believe a change is gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Oh, yes it will. Change is gonna come. Oh, I believe it will. I believe it will. I believe it will. Yes, change is gonna come. Yeah. Yeah. I do have I have my dulcimer here with me today, and we were talking earlier. It's going to be hard to have you see it without, it's either cut my head off or cut the dulcimer out of the picture. So I figured it might be a little less disconcerting to actually see my head and not see the dulcimer. So there's been this strange new term, a name that I never would have dreamed that we would be hearing or discussing, and that's the name or the term mask shaming. Mask shaming. People are suddenly talking about. I have a friend who was just going into a store and wearing a mask from the car in the parking lot, just walking toward the store, and a guy was coming out of the store without a mask, and just looked at my friend who had the mask on, that they were, and just shouted a big expletive at him and kept on walking. And my friend was like, what? What was that about? He was being mask shamed. And it's amazing to me that, again, the selfishness that comes in. And so much of what we're, I think, being challenged to learn about and to change our behavior in this time is how we care for each other, how we look outside of ourselves. We live in a very narcissistic culture, you know, everything is me, I, iPhones, and I this. And I remember when they finally came out with the we, but it had 2 eyes in it. It's like, it's very self-focused. And on the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, I was sitting and thinking about this, having read something about how we, if you think of it this way, we don't wear the mask to protect ourselves from getting sick. We wear the mask to protect someone else from getting sick. And then it becomes a whole different thing again. You know, you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It becomes an act of love and an act of generosity, actually. And so I was moved to write this song because there's been, people have dealt with this waiting, with this quarantine in very different ways. You know, you read the Facebook posts and you see the people who were starting to lose it after a week, and the ones who held out for a month, and then suddenly there was like, you could almost hear the whining coming out of the computer. And I just saw a great cartoon of a woman, so she's on the phone with her therapist, and it's the therapist saying, so do you think this quarantine has changed you? And the woman is thinking, me, therapist, do you think this quarantine has changed you? The woman, me, and she's knitting, in the photograph. She said, me, knitting a dress for the possum in my backyard. She's saying on the phone, no. So this is my song that I call my quarantine prayer. I'm waiting, yes, I'm waiting. There is nothing else to be done. But this waiting's a kind of doing. It's a way to help everyone. My little solitude's a way of joining the greater multitude of which I'm part. So I'll keep waiting until the way is clear to come together, heart to weary heart. I just spaced out on the words. To come together, heart to weary heart. Nothing like this in our lifetime, but many plagues have brought down strife, and always those who were the deniers, who only cared for their small life. Here's a chance to move beyond selfish gain and rise up to humanity's call. If I can save one life by waiting, that's what I'll do for you, my troubled friend. I hear the anger, the deep suspicion that this is all just an evil plan, and our very freedoms in greatest peril if we heed these harsh demands. How can we turn away from one another? So many suffering a sad, lonely end. So I'll wait and weep and wonder at all the acts of strength and courage, big and small. The weeks are passing, still more are dying. So don't you tell me this is all a game. Now is the time to find compassion and remember we're all just the same. Not a one of us that's not fragile. You could be next, and that is why I'll keep waiting until the way is clear to come together kindly. Please, let's try to come together kindly. Please, let's try. my quarantine prayer. Change and transformation demands honesty. Honesty with each other, but honesty toward yourself too. I have a friend who gave me this button, which I wear whenever I can. Fight truth decay. And I think it comes right from Northern Sun in Minneapolis. You can get t-shirts and bumper stickers. And it's one of my favorite expressions of the whole movement going on right now. So I want to do something that's a little bit, well, actually I want to share a quote with you that I came across recently from Albert Schweitzer. He said this in 1955. Truth has no special time of its own. Its hour is now, always and indeed then most truly when it seems most unsuitable to actual circumstances. So I'm going to play a little instrumental. I was sitting around one day with a dulcimer and thinking about what honesty would sound like if it were just pure music. So this is kind of a little musical meditation, if you will. Now hang on a sec. I was hoping Zoom would have some auto tuning thing going on with it, but no. It's called honesty. At the end of Mary Oliver's wonderful poem, A Summer Day. Oh, heck, I'll just do the whole poem because I love it so much, and then go into the song. I was just going to give you the last line, but it's almost summer, so. Who made the summer? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who is eating sugar out of my hand. Who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearm and delicately washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and flies away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you intend to do with your one wild and precious life? Hop up on these wings of wonder, let us fly toward the sun. Deep as wells and high as mountains, we will know that all is one. Every creature winged and footed, every feature given free. There is no such thing as ugly when the heart can help the eye see. Yeah. Hop up on these wings of wonder, do not be afraid to fly. I have waited for this moment, do not hesitate to cry. Fear will only kill your longing, make you woe for less than all. There is no such thing as fear when answering sweet mysteries call. Hop up on these wings of wonder while they linger, while they stay. They are strength and they are power, they are soaring night and day. Oh, such a magic, they grow stronger with each soul deceiving out. They will not collapse and wither, though some people think they're all gone. No, no, no. Hop up on these wings of wonder, there is room for everyone. Wonderstruck and full of power, we can fly when work is done. Free the hands that hold it back now, reach on out and take it in. To be known as well as knowing is to live, to learn again. And again and again and again and again. Hop up these wings of wonder, hop up on these wings of wonder, hop up on these wings of wonder, hop up on these wings of wonder, hop up, hop up, hop up, hop up, hop up. Wings of wonder. I like the way there's been this kind of recover of the old kind of beatnik era, since we can't hear each other clap. So that used to be the thing at the end of a poem when you were sitting in the coffee house. It was either this, yeah, it was kind of like with your beret and your us. Well, another incredible concept I came across goes back a couple of years. Oh, and here's another thing that plays into what we're talking about today, change and transformation, the Me Too movement. You know, now in its third year, I mean, it goes back much further than that with Tarana Burke, who really started it in New York City, but when it really started to bust open, and again, it comes from the same source. It comes from this patriarchal structure where power comes from oppressing others. The power is not in your own spiritual strength. It's in having some control over other people's lives and bodies. And so that kind of was already going on. And then the pandemic and now police brutality, and finally the breaking open of the myth that we live in a post-racist society. There's so much happening. There's so much to take in and navigate and assimilate. And the thing I came across is there's this wonderful radical Lutheran minister named Nadia Bolz-Weber. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She has a book out, came out about 1.5 years ago, called Shameless. She's a Lutheran minister, but she's incredibly radical. And in fact, she started a church in Denver. I'm not sure she's still with the church, but the church is called the House for All Saints and Sinners, which abbreviates to the half-ass church. And so I heard her interviewed. Actually, I was driving into the cities. I was driving to Minneapolis, and I heard Carrie Miller interviewing her when her book Shameless came out. And she was talking about the word apocalypse and how she viewed the Me Too movement as an apocalypse, not as opposed to the apocalypse, an apocalypse. And then her being, of course, a theologian, going back to the actual etymology, it's a Greek word that means a revelation, an unveiling or an unfolding of information which could not have been known apart from the unveiling. So this kind of puts a whole different spin on the idea of an apocalypse. You can't dismiss it as the end times. It might be the end of a time, and for some people it's going to seem like the end times because the structures are shifting. But I just thought that was so great. So we're at a sort of, the abyss doesn't necessarily have to be abysmal. It's hard, it's different, it can be bleak, but that's part of the journey. So I want to go from that into a song that I wrote several years ago, right after I'd been in the Twin Cities. I played at the Ginkgo Coffee House, and I was sitting having coffee the next day before I drove up north to spend a few days on Lake Superior up on the North Shore. And I was very disturbed by an article that there was supposed to have been a neo-Nazi rally in downtown St. Paul a day or two before my gig at Ginkgo that was disrupted by an anti-hate group that showed up with rocks and baseball bats. So this kind of gives you a little glimpse into the complicated situation we're in of how we navigate these things, these changes. So I went up to the North Shore, which of course is a healing and transformative event in any case. And a lot of my writing over the years has been to get myself out of some corner I've gotten myself into, usually from overthinking. I was pretty distraught when I headed up that way, and Lake Superior had something to say to me, and it actually became the chorus of this song. And I'll just have you sing along with me, and we'll wrap up my part of the service today. He's failed again, he cannot win here. He is a pawn in someone else's game. They laugh him off, he's just a loser. They cannot see he'll never be the same. He stays up late, he studies harder. He learns these laws they used to break his heart. He has a wife, she too is learning. Together they will break these chains apart. Deep in the night their lamp is burning. They cannot rest, so urgent is the need. Not one more child, nor man, nor woman should know the cruel end that hatred breeds. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's your part. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. A sea of anger floods our nation, and some are lost in its dark undertow. Where is the strength to tread these waters and stem despair about to overflow? It's in the hearts and minds of people who see this world as common ground for all. It's in the earth and sky forever, and everything alive to freedom's call. There is a willingness to triumph over a force that tries to crush your soul. And in the towns and in the country, more lamps will burn as wounded hearts grow whole. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Ooh. There is no simple end to hatred. It's in the fabric of this textured time. But when the threads of love are strongest, we'll weave a garment rich and fair and fine. The lamp is dark, the lovers sleep now. They gather strength and dreams which they will share. And with the sun they rise replenished, and they are rising, rising everywhere. And with the sun they rise replenished, and they are rising, rising everywhere. And with the sun they rise replenished, and they are rising, rising everywhere. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. I see that it's perfect timing. It's 11:30, and
This is the German in me.
and I invite one and all to stick around for our little chit chat afterwards. We can take 2 minutes to go get a snack or whatever. But anybody who needs to go along. I'll close with these words by Cheryl Block. As we go forward into this frightening, exhilarating, confusing, miraculous world, may we offer our comfort to the afflicted, our love to those who are lonely, and our wish for all to be safe. And with that, we can extinguish our chalice and stop the recording.
Over, in the middle of it.
Oh, there it is. Stop the recording.